Would you look at that?
What's up?
No, Amazon.com just invited me to join Woot.com. Like they're cluing me into some shit. Come on, dude. I've seen the internet before.
Well, you stay on top of things, man. I just, it's always news to me.
Yeah, it's not easy. It's a big internet full of all sorts of useless shit that you shouldn't pay attention to.
That is why I don't pay attention.
That's a good move, man.
Anyway,
yeah.
Welcome to 2 Cups of Blood.
Oh, yeah, hey, 2 cups. Just like that.
Just like that.
And then the 2 cups are right before you.
Yes.
Hey, I'm Mechno. Yeah, that's it. I'm dispensing. If you don't know by now, you'll figure it out as we go along.
Yeah, this is Matt, DJ Velicet, Velocinate.
All that good schwaza.
Mechnosferatu.
Yep.
Over here.
Yep.
AKA.
Mechno. Just Mechno. It's fine.
All right.
It's good. It's good.
Cool. So, let me just start out by saying this is sort of a... I don't know if important is the right word, but this is a significant podcast because we're finally live.
Yes.
So this one's going to go out in a somewhat timely manner.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So it took a while, over a year. We stored some up and we got them out there. So.
Yeah, and I actually have our first, or my first of, I'm sure, many. Well, maybe. I hope many. There's definitely many corrections to be made. Whether or not people are listening and actually tell me, like, you're kind of an idiot because grenadine is not cherry. So,
yeah?
Hey, grenadine's not cherry.
Whatever.
Grenadine is pomegranate.
Oh, okay.
Which I guess they have a G in it, both, kind of, so it makes sense, I guess.
Now, did that correction come electronically or in person?
It was from Siffy.
Okay.
Siffy called it out and then was like, oh shit, that was like a year ago that you did that. But
well, that's okay.
Thanks for being gracious about it. I was like, okay, cool. That's cool.
It's better to know than to continue in ignorance.
Yeah, and I think I said Aperol tastes like grenadine, which tastes like cherry.
Yeah, no, you're totally wrong.
Well, Aperol tastes like rhubarb.
It tastes like poison.
Speaking of, what are we drinking tonight? What is this?
Tonight's first of the 2 cups, I guess, is something special because we went to Montreal last weekend. And we went to the lovely SAQ, which I don't remember what it stands for.
The Society of Alcohol de Quebec, or something close to that.
Okay. Very, very, yeah. That sounds very believable. So we went to the liquor store. We picked up a couple things. One of the things that caught my eye, that the price was right and the weirdness factor was there, was something called Shaman by Sivo.
Okay.
Which apparently it's an herbal liqueur. And apparently it's a lost secret of Quebec. And it's unique and captivating. It's definitely unique. I'll give it that.
Not all things that are lost were lost accidentally. It's like losing a tail or shaking a cold, you know.
It's an interesting... Okay, so if you're like a weirdo like Mechno and I, and you like chartreuse or absinthe, there's a chance you could get into this. There's a chance Shaman by Sivo might be right for you. But if you don't like those, if you think, chartreuse is one of the grossest things you've ever tried, you're not going to like this.
You pretty much have a 0% chance.
It's like you take chartreuse and you take out all the interesting goodness about it and you leave the sort of arsenic poison flavor.
Well, what is the one thing I won't say about it is it's not really a kick as far as how strong it is. What's the proof on that?
I think it's like 40.
Oh, okay.
36.
Okay, it's
36%.
Quite what? 7 times the kick of beer.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe 3 or 4 times wines. So, like, it has kick. It doesn't taste really kicky. What gets me is the feeling like you just like put a random root in your mouth. Like it's got like a real weird tree taste, sort of.
Yeah, it has that earthy bitterness.
Sorry about that. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of like it. I would really hesitate to say it's good.
Yeah.
But I like it because it's weird. I like Moxie as a soda too, which is like an herbal. That's kind of how I thought the Shaman and Coke was going to taste. I was like, it's going to taste like Moxie, which is like kind of like root beer if they used completely different roots, like weird plants to make root beer. And I thought that's what this was going to be like, and it's not really.
Interesting.
Yeah. But for me, it's not the actual flavor while you're drinking it. It's when the flavor gets aspirated a little bit with a breath after you've drank is when you feel like somebody put something in this drink. Somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, so what we did was, what's the approximate formulation here?
This is about 1.5 ounces of Shaman to 6-8 ounces of cola.
Okay.
Coke specifically.
Yeah, we mixed it with Coke, and it's a bit like someone slipped something in your drink. It's not, I don't know.
I guess if there was an apothecary that was like, no, I can totally make you Coca-Cola using obscure barks and like leaves, this is the approximation they'd get to. Where you'd be like, yeah, it's kind of right, except when I breathe, it really goes off.
Yeah, it has the bitterness that could be something bad for you or could be medicinal. Like you can't really quantify. I can't really qualify it, I should say.
I'm gonna say that it's getting better. The more of it that I drink, the easier it's happening. I'm down with it now.
All right. Well, it's kind of our spirit of the week, month, episode.
Yeah.
Spirit of the episode. So we're going to try a second round later that's going to approximate one of the not official, but the SAQ's website actually has suggested cocktails for their spirits. And this one doesn't have a specific recipe with it in mind, but they classified it as an herbal liqueur, which is what it is. So they kind of put it in the Jägermeister category. So it's a recipe with Jaeger in mind, but we're gonna try something and we'll see how it is.
I don't know that I would say it's very like Jaeger.
No.
But hey,
Yeah.
what could go wrong?
It's Canadian, Canadian regulations dictate that we have to try that recipe. So
now I do kind of like I like and I dislike what you get when alcohol is dispensed in a government-run. Somebody from our neighbors up north are I know going to correct my impression, but my impression is that all of the liquor stores are government. They're sort of government shops, and so they don't have a great layout. And I feel like their selection is kind of weird. It's like there isn't a high-end. It's not a consumer-driven, exactly, liquor store. Like, they have stuff, but I couldn't find any, like, if you go to an American liquor store and you're looking for a Cabernet Sauvignon, it's easy. Like, they usually have, like, a whole section for them. That's totally not how they do it here. It's all by country of origin, and it's sort of difficult to find anything that's not. I don't want to be like paranoid about it, but I felt like they kind of hid the stuff from the United States.
it was not in an obvious place. I don't feel like they were hiding it, but they weren't giving it any prominence.
Yeah.
I don't think there probably just aren't a lot of American wine fans in Canada when they're looking at, wines from the rest of the world primarily.
I guess. I mean,
I don't know.
New York's got some great Rieslings. California's got great everything, kind of, and I don't know. I just felt like, hey, you don't have to hide it. But
it was hard to find.
You don't have to get wine at the SAQ. You can actually get wine in the grocery stores.
Oh, the best wines.
That is a mystery. Like, why do you think that it is that, like, you can get wine, but you can only get horrible wine?
Maybe we were in kind of a ghetto store.
Was it? It did feel a little industrial.
It was not an upscale bodega. It was kind of a downscale bodega. At least the one, maybe that's...
I'm thinking the Super C.
Oh, the Super C. Oh, I was thinking the place on the street where we got the snacks.
Yeah,
I forgot you didn't get the wine there.
Yeah, so we went to a Super C, which kind of feels like if a movie set was established and they just like reused a warehouse as a supermarket. It's like weird warehouse shelving and stuff where the groceries are just sort of there. It looks a little staged. It doesn't look really convincing. It kind of felt like that to me, but okay.
It was a little bit of a mix between like a old school Price Chopper, not the remodeled,
Market 32.
Whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, Market 32. Like old school Price Chopper mixed with one of these sort of discount, cheaper grocery stores where sometimes the shelf isn't shelving and they just have like bins or like boxes, Like it was some kind of mix between those two. It wasn't terrible, but they didn't carry any good wines.
It was weird. I mean,
do grocery stores carry good wines though? They usually kind of don't, right?
It depends. I mean, isn't in the municipalities where grocery stores are allowed to carry wine? So in New York, you can't carry wine in a grocery store. You can only carry malt beverages. So you can do hard ciders, you can do beers, and you can do malt approximations of wine, like Boone's Farm.
Yeah.
Which is, it's also not great, but you're not expecting a whole lot because it's not wine.
True.
In Montreal, it's actually wine. But it's like they have like 3 different brands, and they're all pretty bad. Well, I shouldn't even say that. I think we were so off-put by the first offering. We were like, yeah, we're not going to open that wannabe fake Australian wine. We're just not doing it.
That never got opened?
I don't think it did. I think it was just left behind.
That might have been the gem of the selection.
It could have been.
You never know.
Well,
good luck to the next
that's
guests
right. There we go.
Of the Airbnb.
But yeah, I think the other offerings of the SAQ are pretty robust. I mean, though, we got an absinthe because we like absinthe quite a bit.
Yeah,
Belisette and myself.
And they had a few. They definitely had a good selection of some stuff we hadn't seen before.
Yeah, so I went for what looked to be the most unique one, which is one that had sugar already added to it and was a Blanc, a white absinthe. Spoiler, it was not good.
It wasn't good by itself. It was very lower alcohol rating because it did have sugar and might have been a bit watered down just through, I don't know. They wanted to serve something that was more palatable. And it had a sweetness and it had a mintiness, which was a little odd. And or maybe even wintergreen, maybe not mint. It was kind of like chewing a double mint or something.
Yeah, it was. At first, I did not find it so off-putting. I was like, oh, that's different. It really doesn't have any licorice profile. It's only this sort of mint forward. And I was like, okay, that's weird.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not harsh at all. It's sweet and it's not too strong.
I want to say it was in the same ballpark as this, maybe 30, 35%.
Yeah, I think you're right about that.
Yeah.
And then what ruined it for me was when someone who we were with made the connection that it tasted like toothpaste. And then you really can't be all that gung-ho about, like, chugging the toothpaste water.
That was a little harsh. I don't think it tasted like toothpaste exactly. But what we found out was we had some Captain Morgan Dark. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
Captain Morgan Black.
Captain Black, yeah, which is very good.
Very good rum. So we had some rum and cokes, and if we added, a shot or maybe a little bit less than a shot of this minty absinthe to a rum and coke, that actually was very nice. I thought that really was the best of what we discovered we could do with that absinthe. So about equal parts rum and I have to try to pronounce this.
Yeah,
now.
I'll try too. Second opinion, I'll get it ready.
All right,
Crap.
This absinthe we're talking about was called Distillerie Dentiste-Klainguer, and I don't know if it was imported like French or if it was made in Quebec. I can't quite remember.
Yeah, it was...
Oh, it's only 25% alcohol.
25%, yeah.
Yeah, very approachable.
But, yeah... honestly, it wasn't bad. It wasn't horrible.
No.
I would not... If you really like absinthe, don't consider this an absinthe. Like, if you...
Yeah, no.
If you just take it as sort of a liqueur that's weird...
Yes.
You're like, oh, okay, this is not too bad to drink. It's on the sweet side, and it certainly goes down fine. I don't know what you'd ideally pair it with if you were calculating, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure. It definitely needs a little balance away from that mint flavor, though.
Yeah, I feel like you could make like a mint julep kind of thing.
Or like a mojito
Yeah,
variation.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think actually you stumbled on it. The rum plus that.
Well, dark rum and it's not quite the same, but that area I think would work. Yeah.
So I'll cut. We're probably going to discuss the Inadvisable Journey, which was the title of the really questionable decision to mid-February take a trip to Montreal.
Yeah.
And I'll start with the lowest point for me.
Okay.
The worst of it was that coming back, the police or the checkpoints were actually all really nice. Everybody was actually pretty personable and jovial. I think it's because we were off tourist season and they were just like a lot less work for them and just like way more laid back about things. But
okay.
Every time I got pulled over for a secondary inspection both times. The first time was like an admitted half-hearted search. The police are like, yeah, we're only doing this because the computer said that we had to. We're not really looking too hard. You guys don't have anything, right? And we're like, no, we don't have anything, of course. And we didn't, so it was just like we were pretty relaxed and let them do their thing. But on the way back, they were like, can you pop the trunk? And they took a peek in there. They were very suspicious about the brown paper bags that we had, which were actually just leftover poutine. And they were like, that smells really strong. Woo!
What?
They thought we were bringing back pot brownies or something. And they were like, you got brownies in here? And we were like, what? No, poutine. And they're like, oh, yes, I smell it now. Yes. It smells very strong. Okay. Yep. But here's the tragic. The tragic is when they opened the back and were looking through things, they moved a bag around that fell out as soon as I opened it upon returning home. And one of my pimp cups fell and cracked.
Oh.
But the good news is I contacted the maker. It was my Tribot, the Tribot chalice. It's glass cracked, but I called the guy who makes it, Iron Antler Forge. And he was like, yeah, $20 and I'll replace the glass for you, no problem.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so at first I was super bummed, but then I was able to track down the maker and not that big a deal. He's like, yeah, I'll grind out the glass. It's, it's a tough epoxy, so it's kind of a chore. probably looking at like $20. And I was like,
Sold.
sold, yes.
Yeah.
I'll get that right out to you, sir.
So is he, where did you find that? Is he on Etsy or what's the deal?
It was a little tricky because the chalice was purchased through Verilas, which is a clothing / accessory aggregator. They have all these different brands that are like independent and high end, and they like put them together on their shop. But they no longer sold. Verilas didn't sell their stuff anymore, so I had to use like internet trickery to look at the Wayback Machine and see what Verilas was selling it as, and then I did a search on that and was able to just figure out that it was Iron Antler Forge. And when I found his webpage, it just had the guy's cell phone number on his webpage. So
Oh, wow.
so I called him up and left a message. He called me back, and he was a cool dude. So
for the listeners, how do we, the only audience we have, because there is no video yet,
yeah,
how would you describe this chalice?
it looks like a little like fiendish little robot thing with 3 spiked talon legs and a big stalk with a fancy goblet at the top of it, a glass goblet. It looks a bit viral, I guess, but I don't know. It's cute. If the listeners do a search for Tribot chalice or Tribot goblet, they'll see what I'm talking about. And it's cool. It's
pretty
definitely
cool.
nice. Iron Antler Forge makes some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's
I like
very, it's got vicious little feet on the end of its 3 legs.
Yeah, you don't want to put it down on wood tables too much because
Yeah.
it'll like chew them up, I guess.
I can imagine it leaving an impression, especially if,
Yeah.
somebody puts it down with some force.
Yeah, like one of those.
Well,
But the good news was my other 2, my Cthulhu Tiki and my intimidating metal mug Stein. Like, is it a Stein if it doesn't have a hinge lid?
I'm not sure it is. I think a Stein has the lid for sure. I'm not sure.
I'll go with mug.
Okay.
Yeah, the black metal mug they were fine. It was, while sad that that's the one that broke, it was very lucky because that's the only one that I could easily like get replaced and repaired.
Yeah.
So yeah, good. That was the low point. That was
Okay.
That was that.
Now, I have to say, maybe... Okay, so the first search was random. Second search, I don't know, maybe because you had a lot of people in the car, maybe that's something that is a bit of a flag for them. I'm not sure. Or maybe it's just the smell of poutine. But I have to say, when I came in, I was just with the missus, so just the wife and I, they didn't seem to care about. So they didn't give us any trouble.
When you went in, did they ask you multiple times, do you have any weapons in the car?
They didn't get on about that at all. They asked us a little, like, just where are we going? And then we're like, oh, we're meeting some friends, birthday thing, whatever, getting together, having fun for the weekend. And he's like, oh, they live out there? And we're like, try to explain, no, they just passed through. They're driving up as well. I think the last thing he asked us was definitely if we had any cannabis products.
Yes.
We were like, no. But they didn't really seem to care.
Yeah, I think it's more like they want to make sure you're not doing a taxation dodge. And because I think that's really why they have like when I got actually a search, they asked a few times about brass knuckles, might even have mentioned nunchucks. They're like pepper spray, brass knuckles, nunchucks, knives, anything. Like, no. Pepper spray?
Maybe they're just fucking with you.
Maybe. I mean, it probably gets pretty boring, but...
This guy's got some ninja stars.
So, like,
Let's get into this guy.
I tried to explain to them that there was a small utility razor that's by the ashtray, and like, it's not really... It'd be hard for them to accidentally hurt themselves on it, but I didn't want them to, like, flip out if they saw it, but, hey. But yeah, they asked about, like, do you have any cannabis products? do you have any roaches in the car? And I'm just like, no. Like, like what? No.
Sorry.
So, like, okay, no, none of those. So, I think it's just like, look, we want you to come and spend a lot of money on weed. Just come on up.
I guess, yeah.
It's a weed vacation.
Yeah.
But yeah, the trip, the drive wasn't bad. For a mid-February excursion, I think that it could have been.
That could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think if we had been a weekend previous, we probably would have been driving into Montreal during a snowstorm. And that could have been stressful, I guess.
Oh, that would not have been fun.
But
it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out great.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. When we do the podcast, I think it's because I don't talk very much in any other time in my life. I always feel like I'm out of breath, like I've been running or something. Like, do you get that?
Sometimes.
I'm just not used to talking.
Yeah. Well, me neither, really. I mean, I'm pretty quiet. Like, I can, if I'm interested in something, I can go on at length about it, but I have a sensitivity to try not to do that to people. So, like, I try not to, like, talk my wife to death and stuff like that. So.
Well, I don't know. I would think that you'd have really strong lungs from your vocal practice.
Oh, I don't practice.
I don't know.
I should. But I'm a terrible singer, but yeah.
Well, actually, so I already covered the low point, but there were many, many high points of the trip. This was a designer drug of a trip. Not that we did designer drugs, but the whole thing was like really calculated, and like down to the people who were like in the expedition, where we were staying, you know, all the high points that I had hoped to hit. And one of my high points was just, we're all hanging out and you found a couple of guitars and you were just sitting in one of the many living rooms of the place because it was like enormous. It was a converted bowling alley that was turned into a luxury apartment. And he's just over there and he just starts going to town, like playing. And we're all like, it's like actually thinking that there was a stereo or something that you found. And it was like, oh, good shit. But no, there it was.
And that's pretty funny because that was a pretty beat up old guitar. It didn't have a high E string, so I was playing on 5 strings that were like really old and like dull sounding, which sometimes is quite pleasant. But yeah, I was just fucking around trying to remember things. I don't even think I was doing anything that great.
No, it was really good. It was like, it was one of those things where like, if the situation had a soundtrack, like edited in later, it would have been that exactly. So it was perfect.
Well, it's very nice.
Really
Thank
cool.
You. So yeah, some of the best parts of that trip were actually the last day. So we went to get poutine.
Oh, that was good.
And then my wife had a couple stores she wanted to go visit. So we ended up walking down this street, and I don't remember the name of it right now.
Was it Hubert?
It might have been Saint-Hubert, yeah.
I think so, yeah. Which actually, that was a surprise. Like, oh, I love Montreal so much, and I'm just going to say that the stuff that you intend to do in Montreal that you don't get to, you don't feel bad about because you have a reason to go back. And the stuff you didn't intend to is like a crazy surprise that you didn't know you were going to get. And there was just like really crazy stores all down this street.
Yeah, some wacky, you know, some little comic book, hobby toy stores, like just a geeky store with a lot of different collectibles, t-shirts, and, you know, a couple of those game stores and stuff like that. And we found what was described as a medieval store, I think, is what we heard.
Yeah, like, Yeah, you just go down the street and look for the store with a full unicorn in the window, I think someone said.
Yeah. And, it stands out. You can definitely, you see the unicorn, you're like, oh, that must be what they're talking about. So the store was called Dracolite, and one of the cooler places I've ever seen, I have to say.
It was phenomenal.
Yeah. Like, you go in and there's some, what do I want to say, like cutlery and goblets, drinking vessels on one side of the store, and on the other side there's, daggers and swords and
pistols,
replica weapons.
Right. It was not actually a pistol shop.
Right. No.
But, there was talk. I was talking with them about, no, we'll give you triple receipts and documentation saying that it's a prop dagger, so at the border you're not, awkwardly explaining how it's a, I do have a dagger in the car. There's
Nice.
just a dagger. And they're like, the last people who bought them, as far as we know, they made it home. So I'm like, okay. I didn't think that they were going to, call Dracolite. I mean, we're in jail. You got to, this is on them. They got to get us out of here.
Yeah. So they had some good stuff in the front. Towards the back, there's some jewelry and different things in between. And towards the back, they had very, very nice, very well done clothing, different costumes, outfits. I think a lot of them they make there. And, expensive but not ridiculous for something so well made with all these little details. And a lot of leather in use, which kind of, as a vegetarian, I kind of puts me off.
It's iffy,
but
yeah.
Really beautiful work.
Yeah. I think that they had a lot of pride that I don't think the people who we were speaking with had made everything there, not on the first floor, but they had a lot of pride that it was all Quebec, sourced. It was all, very locally sourced and very locally made. And then, for me, upstairs was, the show stealer.
Oh, yeah. You don't even know there's more to this place. A lot of places with 2 floors, it's obvious. You see a stairway maybe at the midpoint of the store or somewhere that's accessible and obvious. This place, you had no idea until you got back past all the clothing, and there's a staircase in the back of the place. And lining the staircase as you go up, and you make basically a 180-degree turn as you go around and up. They had a couple full sets of leather armor going up, and
really complete, amazing works. If the armor from Skyrim were real, it would actually be this stuff.
Yeah, very ornate, very I don't even know how to describe it.
Really detailed, really meticulous.
Yeah, and original too. Not a generic style or a copy of an existing pattern, I don't think. Very, very well put together, artistically made. And very impressive. And I think a lot of that stuff were just display pieces.
Yeah, well, it was actually the red one. There was a red suit that was the owner, the male owner, proprietor. I don't know, owner, proprietor, whatever. The dude's, that was his personal armor. And it was not a for sale thing. It was, I guess, just a great display piece and bragging rights for, just having something really fantastic.
Yeah, very, very cool. But as you came all the way up and you entered into that second floor, you just saw this, kind of large fantasy room. And that's where they had all their LARP weapons, a lot of different foams, and a lot more armor pieces and sets that were purchasable and very well planned out. They actually have a catalog where you can get either the full set or different pieces if you just want bracers, if you just want, a harness, if you just want a shoulder piece. You can kind of pick and choose which pieces, and they can make anything in there to order for you, which is really nice. You can customize it. You can get any of them in any of the different colors that they offer. Just extremely impressive stuff.
It was an overwhelming arsenal of prop weaponry. Like, and everything was really, really... It was not like a Nerf sword. It was like an incredible... And to be a sculpture geek for a second, they were telling me about... They have a house that they'll make the weapon design, and they have someone who crafts them. And the place that makes it has their own proprietary foam formulas for casting this stuff. So you'll get foam that is in some places really soft and LARP appropriate, but in some places is hard, like almost like an acrylic almost. It was still flexible to an extent, and they were like, no, it's all foam. They just have a proprietary way of mixing the foam with other additives to give it different qualities. Pretty amazing.
Yeah, and it really made... I think because it was all made of roughly the same stuff with just different, slightly different variations, the borders of the different densities coming together were really well disguised. Like, you couldn't really see them. Just very high quality stuff and original designs that I hadn't seen anywhere else.
Yeah, I would say that there were... What was the true mark of a fantastic expedition was that just about anything we did could have been a justification for going to Montreal.
Yeah.
Like, this place, if you like fantasy stuff, high fantasy, LARPing, Dracula dress-up kind of thing, like any of those categories, and you're in New York or, I'd say within 8 hours... It would so be worth going to this place to check it out. And to do it a good service, I did quick look it up. And yes, it is on Saint-Hubert.
Okay.
So,
yep. And they have a pretty extensive website with their products. They don't always have a description for every... Like, I was looking at some of the daggers, for instance, and they didn't have dimensions on all of them, so you couldn't really tell how long some of them were, but they did on those special foam ones you're talking about. So you can tell exactly how large it is and all that. And they have all the different armor offerings and all the different sets on there. So I think it's just dracolite.com.
Okay.
And you can get it in French or English, and it's just really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, I was impressed that it wasn't just fantasy weapons. They also had post-apocalyptic. Like, they had
a few, yeah.
There was a crowbar. There was like this crazy like pipe thing, like a pipe weapon.
Pipe, yeah,
it was great.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, that was super cool. The whole street was really neat. Even the there was the cafe that we got rose lattes in, and it was like so authentic that there were actually rose petals in the latte, which at first is kind of off-putting because you get like a mouthful of leaves and you're a little confused, but it was delightful. Did you ever find a vape shop on the street, or you had to go somewhere else?
We didn't. I think we had to go elsewhere. There was a store there that was closed. The other store that was on Google was no longer there, and it morphed into something else, but we did find something on the way out of town that was just right. They had exactly what she needed. So
good.
Yeah.
So what else was on Saint-Hubert? So in the last day, it was supposed to be like the lightest of the days too. We were like, well, we're gonna eat poutines and then head out. And I don't know if it's people have contributed that it is not the best poutine in Montreal. But it is my favorite poutine in Montreal, which is like LaBanquise. And when bringing people there the first time, it's really fun for them to get the large size because the large size comes in a salad bowl. It's like ridiculously large.
It's easily 3 servings.
Yeah. But
for like $12, I mean, it's pretty reasonable.
It's quite reasonable. The place is really good. The music is fun. without being at an excessive volume, which is a criticism we'll probably come back to.
Yeah.
But no, that's really good. But usually you're pretty roughed up by the poutine. Like you don't tap dance out of there. You've already done a feat in attempting the poutine.
It's a heavy undertaking. But
somehow, we're travelers of like wily constitution. So we were like, okay, let's hit Saint-Hubert.
Yeah. It was really nice. I mean, it was definitely the move. Just something to put the whole thing over the top was that, the stuff we were finding and how unique it was.
So cool. Like the otaku shops were really cool with all the models and the like stuff imported from Japan, like strange stuff. My fiance Chimera got a rainbow alpaca backpack that was pretty adorable. She was like, it can hold a bracelet. I mean, it was like the storage capacity was really unimpressive, but
yeah, maybe a Mac Mini.
It was super cute. Maybe maybe not. I think that's pushing it. Now, do we talk? I don't want to like make this PG-13, but we did go into one of the adult shops, which really it was an adult shop. And what that means is that you were not stupid about sexuality and fashion didn't make you like run out of the store giggling. That's really about how adult it was. It was like you must be this mature to browse this shop. It was not that it was all serious. You could get like stupid goofy things, but it had some high-end fashion stuff and it was like really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
And after that, we had wanted to check out a fashion store. And so that's really what brought us to the street. And then just everything else was like a magical surprise of like, there's cool shit all over the place.
Yeah, it was really, really interesting because a lot of the times you hear about, is it St. Catherine that is the big touristy, shoppy street?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like St. Catherine it's so tourist that I feel like the tourists outnumber locals by a large number. And there's just a lot to cater to them. Whereas, I don't know, I can't explain it. It's more like Saint-Hubert. Well, one, it was a section I'd never been to.
Oh.
I've never been out that way exactly. And I was really pleased by... Yeah, it was like a mall, sort of, because there were just so many shops down the street. But each shop was so unique, like the full Harry Potter themed store. Like, I'm not crazy bananas about Harry Potter, but the detail and attention that they paid to everything was cool. It was neat.
Yeah, and you could tell there was some passion behind that. It wasn't just throwing up some stuff, and they put a lot of heart into that, I thought.
Yeah.
And they didn't just have Harry Potter stuff, but that was the predominant thing going on, I think.
Well, no, I don't remember anything else in there.
They had some Rick and Morty things. They had just a variety of, fan geek stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. There was a TARDIS, like a full-size replica TARDIS in the back.
I think I was just mostly, the impression I got was just overwhelmed by the attention to Harry Potter they had. They had other stuff, but like they actually had every character in the movies that you had seen their wand, they had a replica as close to the movie prop as possible of that character's wand. And I'm talking about like some chump who was in a bar who like happened to drop his wand in a scene. They're like, "Oh, we need Chump's wand. We got to get that one. It's got to be perfect."
Nice.
It's got fuzzy dice hanging off of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
Some detail.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
We didn't get out to any music in Montreal,
yeah,
which
that's
is
true.
What we had been planning on. But, that was just a tough day, and we just weren't feeling it when the evening rolled around.
Yeah, we had Saturday night plans, but for me, like, the kicker. It was like a super close. It was like, well, I'm still going to make it out to Bar Le Shop. Bar Le Shop? Yeah, Bar Le Shop. Check out this thing that's going on tonight. The crowd was 50-50 about who was going to go. And then I ate at this diner.
Oh.
And the diner, like, the food tasted fine. But I should have been suspicious at how, like, affordable things were. That, like, it just didn't sit right. I felt, like, funky. And then, I did this to myself. This is definitely, I perpetrated this on myself. I was like, yeah, I don't usually eat a lot of meat, so I'm going to have a double cheeseburger and a hot dog.
Oh.
This is going to go great.
Yeah.
Didn't go so great.
Well, I mean, I had a cheese pizza, and it didn't sit well with me either, but, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I should blame the place, if it was just greasy food, or what.
I think it was a greasy spoon diner when we were already, like, teetering on the edge of exhaustion.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
With a little excessive drinking the night before, so.
Though we did rally, and we did get some drinking in that night, too.
A little bit.
Little bit. It was good. I think that's when we tried to approach the disreputable wines.
Oh.
And they were like, ugh.
Yeah, I only had a taste of one, and I'm not a real wine person to begin with, so it wasn't amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, that's okay. Quite by chance, we, as we were wandering the streets at one point, we did come across some sort of tribute to Peter Murphy, or...
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't clear on exactly what that show was, but there was a line of people at one of the... I don't know if it was a small theater, or a club, or what. It looked more like a small theater, perhaps.
I wish I had done post-research to figure out what that was.
Yeah.
I could probably... maybe over the refresh break when we fill our cups again, another 2 cups.
Yes.
I'll do a quick search because... Oh, I did that to me. Because I'm pretty sure I can figure out the day that it happened, like the day that it went on. And if I search for that date in Peter Murphy, Montreal, I'm sure I'll find it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely Saturday. So, not sure what that was, but it was cool. I don't know if it was a film or a stage show of some kind, but I don't think it was Peter Murphy live.
You don't think so?
I didn't get that impression. It was like some kind of tribute or looking back on a career retrospective thing.
Would people really be lined up in front before doors for a film?
Maybe. The hardcore fans, yeah.
I guess.
Like if The Cure in Orange came out in the theaters again, I'd be there.
Okay.
Or,
right.
pick your poison,
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Alien was re-released again back into the cinema.
Oh my gosh.
You have to see it. I mean, I've seen Evil Dead 2 in theaters whenever I see it in the area because you just can't not go see Evil Dead 2 in the theater.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, okay. If they did a re-release of Dread in 3D.
Oh, hell yes.
I would absolutely be there in a judge's uniform, ready to go.
I swear, I'm not a big 3D person. The only other film that has come close to Dread's use of 3D for me was Doctor Strange with the trippy time stuff.
Yeah.
Towards the end, that was really cool. Or actually, not at the end, but the vision of the universe and all that stuff, the Ancient One put him through.
Yeah.
I love that sequence. I thought it was really cool in 3D, but Dread, right up there.
When they did the slow-mo scenes in 3D, that was incredible.
Really good stuff.
Well, I'm hoping. I don't think there's a strong possibility we will never get a chance to catch it in theater again.
Yeah.
But it's a possibility. It's feasible. It's potential.
You never know. Maybe the show will come out and there'll be a huge resurgence of interest, and you can always dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do we want to do a quick day-by-day recap of the other things that happened that were interesting?
If you'd like.
So first day was a lot of driving. We got there. We were really hungry walking the streets. And, like, people were starting to get food cranky. Like,
Yeah.
And so we just took a random left turn into a place called Bustan.
Yes.
And the food was unbelievably good.
So good. It was Mediterranean, primarily.
Falafel, shawarma.
Falafel, shawarma. I think they also did a poutine, which none of us tried.
It was probably good.
It was probably good. The falafel was phenomenal.
Yeah.
The hummus, the garlic sauce. Ooh.
This is what gives me the impression of Montreal, is that it couldn't be that we just accidentally walked into the best restaurant in Montreal. And so it makes me think, just by law of averages, all of the places there are probably roughly as good.
I think they have to be at least, trying to be commensurate to compete.
Yeah.
And that was setting the bar pretty high. And this was, we found out later, it was a chain place. Maybe not a big chain, but they had at least a couple locations around Quebec. And so, awfully good.
Good shit.
Yeah.
Day 2 was filled with, we attended an axe throwing session.
Yeah,
and
dude,
that was good.
I forgot all about that, but that was great.
And I have to say that, like, there's certain elements of a person's personality that comes out when they're throwing an axe. Like, there was, like, I can't even explain it. Definitely my personality came out where, like, I saw how to do it, and then every time I went up was, like, a ratcheting level of danger as I, like, was like, I'm going to throw it harder. Yeah. And just, like, but yeah, that's kind of how I am. There was, like, ladies in the group who got, like, kind of scary surgical as they moved to the smaller, faster throwing hatchets.
Yes.
It was a really good time.
It was so interesting because, the lady you're speaking of, who was pretty deadly accurate with those things,
yes,
was not using a lot of strength. It was really just technique. Somehow she just got the hang of it and could really put that thing where she wanted to.
It was really impressive.
And, other ones of us were trying a little more force. We're kind of trying whatever we could do to make it, stick in the wall.
But she was, I think she could have a career. I think, yeah.
For sure.
It was pretty it was really fun, and I guess that's, like, a big thing right now in Montreal is axe. They're not bars, because they will actively turn you away if you've been drinking, which is good. You don't want some drunk asshole throwing an axe.
No.
But it was a lot of fun. It was cool.
And to clarify, they weren't the normal thing you think. It wasn't like a fireman's axe. They were more tomahawk size. They were a smaller size, and then they gave us, to start out with, they gave us like this medium size, sort of a tomahawk, a little more modern, not the traditional Native American style, but a little bit different. And then they gave us some different sizes, a smaller one and a larger one, as we got a little proficient with the normal size. So then we could have fun, doing what we wanted.
Yeah, there was like a targeting system and a ranking system, and we kept score the first time, kind of, and then for the second time, we more like had personal goals. We still kept, like, I picked this one weird axe that was my mission, was I'm just going to get this axe to stick at least once. Yeah. And it took like the whole second frame to do it, but I did get it to stick finally.
That was the larger sized Viking style axe, which was the hardest one to actually make stick. So, yeah, you got the hang of it though.
Well,
good for you.
Hey, thank you.
I didn't even try.
It was a real accomplishment. It was not easy.
I noticed.
It was not easy because even if you hit, it was like a funny balance. So you had to throw it a certain like heft, and if it didn't hit just right, the harder you're trying to throw it, the less control you have over it. And if it doesn't hit just right, it's going to bounce off. And so, I don't know. It was a victory just getting. I don't think I was even in the target, but it stuck, and I was pumped about that.
That's good. I'll give the folks a tip. For me, at least, I was trying to, I thought using two hands was just kind of silly and too much, and I was just like, I'm just going to use my, my good hand. I'll get this motion down. I'll get it going. And I kind of got it, but I was pretty inconsistent. But I didn't start using two hands till the very end, and I think it really helped stabilize. And I would just recommend that. Use both hands when you're throwing an axe.
Okay.
Yeah. That's my tip.
So if you go to Montreal, or if the warehouse district in Albany gets an axe gallery that opens up, then just remember, take his word for it. Two hands.
Yeah. And honestly, pretty economical. It was like $20 a person for an hour or something.
Yeah. $20 each got us 2 lanes of our own, and we could just hang out and do what we wanted to do, manage it ourselves. They weren't really, I guess they would get involved if we were getting crazy or something, but mostly we were just left to our own devices, paid attention to the safety outline that they gave us, which really made a lot of sense. Don't go to retrieve your axe while someone else is throwing.
Yeah, some common sense stuff.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, the instructor is the wrong word, but the person there was actually quite helpful in trying to get you to get the basic techniques down and correcting some small mistakes.
Really, actually, you're absolutely right. Not only did he was like kind of showing off in the beginning when we first got there, or just demonstrating that he knew how to throw these things pretty well.
Yeah.
But, once it was like the smallest adjustments, like, no, you just got to move 6 inches back, and then it's totally going to do what you want it to do. And then he was absolutely right. Like one foot span back made a huge difference.
And that's something maybe you could figure out on your own, but it would take you a while. And this guy sees it so much, he can just tell you what's up.
Yeah, it was cool.
So it's definitely helpful. Good staff.
Yeah, it was really fun. And, after
what was the place named? We should call it out.
Oh, that was Rage Axe Academy.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a good place. Now, there are other axe places in Montreal, but literally because I was booking the week before, it was to get that many people all at once was a bit difficult, but I lucked out with Rage. There is Maniacs, which has their claim to fame is they have like artistic axes, like double-headed metal-looking axes that you can throw, or double-sided, not double-headed. It's not like a... Dude, yeah, I'm trying to get the mental image, but
Darth
no, it's
Maul
like
axes.
It's like, not quite the axe from Mandy, more like a battle axe, but kind of in a metal, like exploded weird fashion. Whatever, yeah. You know what I'm talking about, kinda.
It's not clear to me, and I can see his nonverbal gestures, so it's...
Yeah, just imagine like a metal version of a battle axe.
Okay.
And that's what they had. They had, but like...
Album cover appropriate, I assume?
Yeah, but what kind of put me off is that like they broke everything into tiers, and if you weren't getting a really expensive session, you were limited to not getting the fancy cool axes. You got you get ones that are only painted brown. And like, oh, okay, great.
Premium axe level.
Yeah, it was like, so like I thought that was kind of, I don't know, maybe if you were in like an axe league or something and were really hardcore into it, you would want the experience of using that. But for me, who never had any instruction in axe throwing before, this is a great introduction for sure.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. The whole thing was a blur because the rest of the trip that was not spent doing quote unquote not doing anything was still really. Oh, we should cover the dispensary.
Okay,
what that is, but we had this incredibly posh converted bowling alley for an apartment for us, and it with the one aside that like with enough people, no matter how much effort they put in, you will run out of hot water.
Yeah.
That was a thing. We did deplete the shower's supply of hot water, but other than that, this place was an absolute dream, and it was just really amazing.
Yeah.
So even when we were doing nothing, we were missing out on nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it was cool.
Yeah, it was on the third floor of a sort of downtown commercial building, I would say.
Yeah.
So really beautiful view, big, windows looking out over a really nice view of the city. There's an outside sort of deck, so you can go out and smoke. There was a little fireplace inside. Totally ballin' kitchen.
Amazing kitchen.
I mean, crazy table, counter island with a countertop, multiple sinks, crazy elaborate stove, oven,
Yeah.
all that.
Skylights everywhere.
Yeah, skylights, yeah.
One of the walls was like a garage door roll-up thing. People are going to think that we're embellishing and bullshitting about this place
No.
because it sounds like it was way too much.
Nuts.
It was just crazy. And to balance it out and make it sound realistic again, it was on the third floor, and that was a lot of fucking steps. Like,
Yeah.
every time you were like, if you were planning something that involved running down and then coming back and then leaving, it was a little intimidating because it was a lot of steps.
Yeah, and they were kind of narrow stairways and, a little cramped. But other than that,
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. We did make it out to one of the, I'm going to say it's SDQC?
I think so.
SQDC? Maybe. But it's
Yeah, that would make more sense. Society, I don't know.
Society Quebec Dispensation Cannabis. Something. Something like that. That was an interesting thing,
Yeah.
It was not now having it's a funny irony because I don't smoke, but I do really like to visit dispensaries and just see how they each do it. And when I was in Colorado, it's a very small affair, and it's like a very small head shop that has marijuana products in it. A wide array of very colorful products that are like highlighting the strains that they have, and you can see the flowers and stuff, and wrapped in a trapping of an establishment that is very, very, very prepared to fend off robbery.
Right.
Like, you have to go through, like, you have to get carted in, and then they have a special, like, door system where they lock the outer door as you proceed into the inner door so that somebody can't rush through. And it feels a little like, it's a little weird. Dispensary in Montreal, I don't think, other than looking at the computer terminals when you're shopping, you did most of your shopping or browsing at these computer terminals where you could look up strains. But once you're actually in line, you just see canisters. There's nothing really fancy about it.
Yeah, it's kind of... it's the only place I've been to, but... Yeah, it's all very wrapped up and sort of... Not generic, but like a standardized packaging. And presented very... plainly. Almost clinically, medicinally, if you will. Yeah.
So I'm going to kind of talk out my ass for a second, but I think that it's a socialized industry in Canada where, like, it's actually municipally, like, the municipalities are the ones who are running it. So there's actually police have a desk in the front of the dispensary, right? Didn't we pass the police in there?
I don't remember seeing police.
Not a, like...
There was a front desk, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that there were police just sitting there.
Maybe.
They weren't, like... They weren't threatened in any way.
They were so unpolice-like. I didn't register them as police.
But they were there. But it felt like kind of like the cannabis version of the SAQ, which is it is a store and it's not poorly laid out, but it's like not. exactly driven by the consumerist evolution that would make things flashy and
Right.
know.
It was just kind of functional.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it was neat.
Yeah, and there was like no security procedures. You just kind of walked in, and it wasn't super crowded. It was maybe a little chaotic inside, but you just kind of got in line and got helped, and it looked like, they were taking credit cards and everything. I know, like, in Colorado, I don't know if it's still a thing, but they were forced to do cash only a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's the case in Northampton as well.
Okay.
Where it's best if you place your order ahead because there's a line out the door if you're trying to shop just then. But yeah, there's like all sorts of industries, or all sorts of American dispensaries where they're super paranoid about the bank just suddenly not releasing their funds to them or like shafting them in some way because the federal status is so precarious.
Yeah.
So, but it was really cool, and not, they didn't have gummy bears and they didn't have like candy. I think that stems from it being run by a governmental agency of being like really kind of strict about like, no, this is not something that's supposed to remotely appeal to children. We're not going there. We're not doing that.
Yeah.
If you want something edible, it's going to be in a pill. It's like a little tablet form or something, right? Did you see what those were?
I think they were like gel caps, essentially. I think they had like some kind of infused oil inside, like a gel cap.
Okay. So.
Yeah. But they had, they had the flour, they had the gel caps, they had, I think, some kind of spray or topical.
Pepper spray?
Well, something. Breath spray, I guess.
Oh, okay.
And, a few things, yeah. I think it was mostly flour, though, that they had primarily.
And actually, one of the traveling companions we had was not at all interested in high. She just wanted the CBD strain that is 0 THC, all CBD, and is just great for anxiety and relaxing and being comfortable. And she loved it. Usually in the United States, it's kind of difficult to get those strains. They sort of fall by the wayside because people are looking for something fun.
Yeah.
But no, she got it and she loved it. She had a really good time. Like,
cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I recommend the trip to Montreal.
Yeah, a good time was had by all.
They're not douchey. They're actually really pretty nice. Did you catch any attitude?
No, not really. I mean, even the beeping in the street seemed polite. Like, I only heard it a couple times, and it was like a little toot-toot, like a little... No one was like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
No New York honking.
Yeah, it was like, oh, I don't think you see me, friend.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like, hey, are you going or what? Like, toot-toot. It wasn't like, you motherfucker, move.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah.
No Brian Gropner honking.
No. Yeah. Oh, my God. Bless him. Patron saint.
But yeah, are you about ready for round 2 here?
Yeah, I think I am. My bladder is definitely tapping me on the shoulder saying, hey, bro, why don't you do something about that?
All right.
Okay, yeah, we'll get a refill and be right back.
Let's take a quick break.
Great. Okay, coming in.
So let's talk about drink round 2 before we get distracted.
Yeah, this is the Fiery Blast, or what is it called?
This is based on a recipe called the Fiery Mint. And again, it's kind of made for Jaeger. But we took the Shaman, and basically it's about... I'm going to improvise to what we did. It's about a shot of vodka, half a shot of the herb liqueur, in our case, the Shaman. And it says about 3 teaspoons of honey. I was out of honey. I didn't think I was, but I was. So we used some maple syrup.
Which is a fine substitution, I think. Roughly the same sweetness and a good character.
About half a shot of hot water. It calls for mint leaves. We didn't have any fresh mint. But you're actually supposed to take the mint leaves of the honey in the hot water in a shaker and, crush it up with a muddler and stuff like that. But we're going pretty lowbrow, quick and dirty this time. So we just kind of mixed it all together.
Raw dogging it.
A couple ice cubes. And to simulate the mint, I put a little splash of Creme De Menthe in mine. I think it did not help. But overall, without the Creme De Menthe, if you just have the vodka, the liquor, the honey or syrup, and a little hot water, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. And even with the mint, I think if it were a hot summer night and you were drinking it, mint I feel like is just like nice at being refreshing when it's too hot.
Yeah, it's that porch cooling off drink.
Exactly, yeah.
So even with the mint, it's not terrible. But yeah, I think fresh mint would definitely have a whole different dimension on, versus the Creme De Menthe I put in there.
Yeah, mine is the same but does not have any of the mint, and I don't think it is suffering for not having that mint factor. So,
nah.
If you're a diehard 2 Cups fan and you try to make every single recipe that we make, one, you probably have a problem, and two, don't sweat the mint if it's not on hand. It works both ways. If you have it and it's a hot summer night, go for it. Yeah. Otherwise, taste while you're making it. That was
oh yeah,
that's the way to go.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, very good tip. So we did just look up the Peter Murphy event that we passed up in Montreal. February 16th. He was actually there. Yeah. It was a live show.
We could accidentally have walked into a Peter Murphy show, which actually is weird because there was a line out front, but it was not a line that I would have associated with a full Peter Murphy show. Like, I would have thought more, but
yeah, I don't.
Who knows when the show started? Maybe like most people had already filed in, or if it might have been way early. I don't even know.
I think that line was moving, so I don't think we saw the whole, the whole scope of it.
Yeah.
And we did walk. Of course, we're passing this line, and we walked right past a scalper, selling tickets for cheap. So we could have taken the ticket Fate was trying to hand us, but we didn't.
No regrets.
But yeah, it's fine. We had a good time doing what we were doing. So
absolutely. They have a really nice subway system.
Yeah, the subway was shockingly clean and fairly modern and very quick.
The cars were fast and open. They didn't feel cramped. It didn't feel like you were crushed. I've always felt like New York City subways feel a little bit cramped. Like you feel kind of like you're smushed in there.
I think the dirtiness is a factor.
Yeah.
When everything's clean, I thought the Montreal trains were maybe even a little narrower than New York City subways, just by a little bit, but it didn't feel like you were...
didn't feel claustrophobic. No. Because it was
it's something I thought I saw, but it didn't really have an impact.
Yeah, it was clean. It was clean and it was bright, and there was an interesting LEDs marking the doors to let you know what the doors were going to do. So you'd know which side was going to be the exit side based on which doors light up, and it was a pretty good system. I mean, it's to New York City's credit, the Montreal system is 3 or 4 lines total, and it's really not nearly as extensive, but I don't know, it was cool. And we did get to dip into the underground.
Yeah, some of the underground city, yeah.
Which is, I don't know. The locals are all the underground is just like a connected series of shopping malls that we got a little bit of the experience as we were moving through it, and we could see that, it was intentionally confusing, and you couldn't tell if you were moving in the right direction. And
sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. So it was cool.
I like that sort of maze-like aspect of it.
Yeah, I think that's really... the time that I spent all day just walking through as much of the city as I could, staying in the underground, was interesting because, you start to learn what the signs look like, and there'll be, a sign for the next section nowhere near the next section, but it points you in the right direction, and you just have to remember that you saw that sign and keep moving towards that end, and eventually you'll make it.
Nice.
So it was cool. But enough about Montreal. That was, you know, that was all great, and I can't wait to go back, but there's other things.
Yeah. So let's talk about some music real quick. I know there's some new stuff coming out or that just came out that I wanted to mention, and I haven't heard Muette yet, which is Steven Siebold with some other gentleman doing... I don't even know if I heard a sample yet. I might have heard a little preview, but I'm not sure exactly what it is. I know it's out now, or out very soon. And it's the self-titled debut album, M-U-E-T.
Okay.
So that's out, and his standalone project is also out. That record came out pretty good, pretty not super different from like the last Hate Department record, but a little bit of a different feeling to it, a little more relaxed, but pretty quality. I dig it.
Well, Siebold he's pretty talented. And
yeah.
I think he's not an a-hole, which I think comes through in most of his music. He's like kind of a likable dude. So, I don't know. That means more to me than it should. If I know an artist is an asshole, it really makes it harder for me to enjoy their work.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
It's hard. yeah, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to separate the art from the artist sometimes. I think it's a good thing to do. You can enjoy somebody's art without endorsing their personality, but... Absolutely.
No, that I agree with 1,000%. Like, you have no responsibility to research an artist when taking in their art. But sometimes, like, there's a lens of interpretation that you unwittingly apply if you know someone is a jerk.
Yeah, it can color your experience.
So like it's almost like a shortcoming on the listener end to have that handicap of like knowing like you can't listen with fresh ears because you know he's a dick. But you know, I don't know. I have no such impression about Steven, and I'm sure it's pretty cool. Did you said you got to listen to his solo project?
Yeah, the standalone record. It's really good. Standalone, one word. I think it's self-titled record. If the record has a title, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on it right now. But solid record. Good stuff.
Nice.
Not super dancey industrial. Like I said, a little more laid back. He doesn't do a lot of... I don't know if you can call what he usually does screaming. He's just more laid back. Some of the vocals are a little higher, a little more relaxed. But it's good. It's good stuff. Good sounds on the record, which is really something that's been drawing me in lately. Like good synth sounds, good drum sounds. Yeah, well engineered, well put together.
Cool. Nice. Any other releases?
Just a couple other things I wanted to mention. Helix put out a remix record. I think it's Pay What You Want.
Okay.
On Bandcamp. So I think it's literally called just Helix Remix. And it's, again, Helix is the side project of Tom Shear from Assemblage 23 with Mari, I forget her last name.
Cotman?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who's done singing with a couple different acts.
Yeah.
She's been on some I've Ardent Sphere and
yes. Yeah,
a couple
definitely.
Things. Yeah.
No, that sounds cool.
So yeah, that stuff is really good. Maybe the big one is Frontline Assembly just put out Wake Up the Coma.
I had want to talk about that too.
Sure. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't.
I only listened to it once.
Not to interject, but there's a couple breakout amazing tracks. So I listen, and I go ahead and I rate the songs that I really liked. I'll go ahead and instantly rate them so that they stick around on my iPod in my playlist as like the top rated, and like I get more time with them. I'm trying to find it. They had a pretty interesting cover. Where is it? Of course, there's so much music.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yes, that's what it was. I didn't find it, but I can remember. It was their cover of Rock Me Amadeus featuring Jimmy Urine. Jimmy Urine's last effort did not connect with me. I think he is branching towards professionally. He's like probably making more money off doing like soundtrack scoring than like other like standalone kind of release stuff. But he did a pretty convincing Falco vocal on that track, and I definitely, like, right off the bat, I was like, this is great.
It's pretty good.
And now I'm not going to say I have a grudge against Frontline Assembly, but I will say that when I saw them on tour with Skinny Puppy, I felt like sometimes they are like seeking to put on a show for only the truest of fans. That was like just a really unapproachable show. They were like focusing on tracks that I had never heard before, and it was not fun.
They kind of put on, would you say it's sort of the industrial equivalent of a jam band, percussion wise or something? Like they have some really long songs with a lot of just percussion-y parts, a lot of hand drums on stage. I don't know. It didn't really connect with me either.
It was tough. I mean, I just felt like I was excluded. Like it was weird. I did not like it.
Okay.
Not that I dislike Frontline Assembly. There's been some like pretty banging tracks, but I felt like that's not what they were doing for this tour. But this album is pretty approachable, and it's pretty enjoyable.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like the Air Mech and War Mech. I guess they're soundtracks that they did for some video games, but I really like that stuff. It's a little bit different from their normal fare, and just really, really good electronic tracks. Not necessarily super industrial, but very good.
Yeah, they're cool.
But yeah, the new record, not bad. It's not quite to my taste, but it's quality, and I can see a lot of people liking it.
Yeah. I mean, is Rock Me Amadeus like pandering? Not exactly. I feel like it's really fun.
Yeah.
And it's new enough that they're bringing something to it, and faithful enough that it has a nostalgia hit, and so it was good.
It's definitely well done, and I think well intentioned. They weren't just throwing it off, and
yeah,
it's not a quick and dirty one. It's well put together.
Do you follow the Endzeit Bunkertracks compilations?
No.
So the Bunkertracks are like usually like super club crushers. Like if a track makes it onto Endzeit Bunkertracks, you'll have like Gesaffelstein's Pursuit, dude, like just really like super iconic, can't fail kind of tracks. And so they had a recent release, which is Endzeit Bunkertracks Act 8, but it's sort of a different one. This is the bonus tracks, and this is all sort of like funky remixes, and they're not as poppy, but they're really good to listen to. Like there's some cool like droning I don't know, like not exactly tribal. There are tribal tracks, but that's not. It's more like almost like trancey-ish kind of stuff that is not in the normal formula. Some remixes with Witch Doctor and Worms of the Earth.
Oh, okay. I think I saw this, but I just didn't have time to pursue it yet.
Yeah, a really good track by Zustand called Crouch Trauma. Crouch Trauma. I think it's about getting kicked in the balls. I'm not sure about that.
Nice.
Crotch trauma. No. Anyway. Yeah, no. I'm gonna not go with that. But yeah, it's a good album. I had some sad news that Ashbury Heights, which is one of my favorite electropop acts, they are in a state of transition now because T is I think Tia? Yeah, time. She goes by Time 4T.
Okay.
And yeah, so Tia is departing to return to just criminal forensics, I think, is her area of study. So she's just focusing on her academics and is not going to be part of Ashbury Heights anymore. And Anders, who's really the core member of Ashbury Heights, usually he has this sort of detached thing where usually he's like, don't worry, everybody, this is not going to be a substantial change because really I write everything. I write all the lyrics. I write all the music. So we'll find a new singer. We'll move on from here. But this time it feels a little different. I feel like he is less comfortable with this direction. Not that he would want to stop her from pursuing what she wants to pursue, but just that, like, she actually contributed lyrically and some of the writing, and he feels like it's actually like a big shakeup for her to move on, and him to move on from there too. But I have every faith that it's still going to be good. If you like Ashbury Heights, then you'll still like them in whatever form they take in the future.
Cool. Yeah, I think they're very good. Not deep into them, but yeah, I like a lot of what I've heard so far.
I think it's the fiery Gothball talking, but I will say that...
The what?
Whatever this thing is, man. I don't know what this drink is called.
Fiery Gothball. I like that.
Yeah. So, I will say that I did not necessarily love her influence on the music. I felt like the last album was incredibly personal, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable being invited into this very personal thing. Like, it was all like bad times. Like, so like, yeah, I get it. There's a catharsis in sharing a bad time via a song, but stuff with car accidents and like, I don't know, like people losing their teeth. It's kind of fucked up. I don't know.
That's a tough one.
It made it hard. Like there were themes that made it like a little artistically high marks. Aesthetically and like connection wise, it wasn't exactly there for me. Which is like, I don't mean to give a harsh review. It's a good album, but the other stuff is like really easy to bond with. This stuff feels a little bit more emotionally charged, and it's not as much a fun album. So I don't know. I think that I am looking forward to future works, and I hope only best things for them.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Now, have you been taking any dark cinema in, or dark home cinema in the form of any video programming while we're on the media subject?
Not a ton. It's been kind of a crazy couple weeks for me, so
Punisher?
I have not gotten to it yet.
Well, the good news is you only have this one season to work through because they canceled it.
Yeah, I know.
That's not good news.
I know.
They all fall into this trap. And I know it's not really the trap. So I would say they keep doing this shit where they have the enemy who they defeated in the previous season, and instead of having something new, they just bring that same dude back. They did that in The Punisher.
Okay.
But not to huge detriment.
Well, there was if I understand what's going to happen there correctly, there's a growth to that villain. It wasn't just a one-time thing. He changed and something happened, right?
Kind of. I mean, I feel like when I saw that it happened in Daredevil where they brought back Kingpin, and it
I haven't
happened.
seen that yet either.
Wilson Fisk came back, and he was
Spoilers, bro.
Come on, it's been out for how long? Come on, man. And you get that when you watch the first episode. You're like, oh, okay, Fisk is the thing here.
Yeah,
okay. And then you had what was the other? I don't even know. Like Luke Cage. Okay.
Yeah.
Mariah Stokes is back again.
Well,
okay.
she never left.
Yeah, she never left. Okay, we're doing this again.
Right.
Like it's the we're doing this again feeling. And at first I had that in Punisher, but everything else about Punisher is so well done that it just bleeds off. And I feel like the real reason is nothing to do with the quality of the Punisher. It has everything to do with Disney owning the Marvel titles and Netflix divesting from that.
Yeah.
Which, bummer, because fuck if I'm going to subscribe to a whole nother service just to get the Marvel titles.
Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, Disney's starting their own streaming service.
There's too many.
There is too many. You want piracy? Because this is how you get piracy.
Yeah.
So, but I do have to say, sorry about the B pop that I just gave there, but
That's all right.
I do have to say that as much as I am like adverse to all these different streaming services, there's some good stuff out there. Like,
yeah,
I would probably not subscribe to the DC Universe one, but I just caught the first episode of Doom Patrol. It's pretty charming.
I didn't know it was actually out yet.
Yeah, they just dropped the first episode, and it's done with a very dry view of like introducing the villain, and the villain actually sort of narrates the first episode and is very like, this is another superhero bullshit thing, and you've seen it before, and you don't want to go through the origin story, but we're gonna make you go through some origin shit. So like it like understands what it is and kind of guides you around the awkwardness of seeing this kind of storytelling again, and that presence really elevates it. I'm super stoked about the second season of Cloak and Dagger.
Oh yeah,
but I don't think that's DC Universe. I think that's
that's a Marvel show on some other, I don't even know what network.
It's something weird. It's like Sinclair or something weird. But yeah, that was so much better than it had like expectation to be. The first season of Cloak and Dagger was really good.
Yeah, I haven't finished it, but just the first episode it really grabs you and shows you the kind of quality that's in there. So yeah, I'm excited. I might actually consider subscribing to DC just for Titans. I mean, Titans is good enough. They're going to bring in a Swamp Thing show. If they do as well a job on that, I mean, that's kind of all I need right there.
I find that so ironic because I have like really hated what DC brings to the cinema. But what they've brought in series has been like really outstanding quality. Like,
yeah. I mean, there's some weird things you have to roll with in Titans. Like, there's some thematic kind of Tony stuff you have to kind of get used to. But if you can get into it, that show is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Yeah, I agree. I concur. Quite good.
Yeah, it really gives me high hopes. I think Greg Berlanti or Berlini is one of the executive producers, showrunners, and I think he did some good work on Arrow. And
good.
I think he's been has a hand in these other shows, and that's one of the reasons they're so good, is they actually have the right people behind it.
Yeah, I could really believe that if the people who were behind, or at least some of the people who were behind the better attributes of Arrow, did a program where they're not constrained by like viewer rating, like audience propriety rating. I don't know how do I phrase this. Like, I'm not saying like they're not paying attention to crowd reaction. I'm saying that like it's rated, doesn't have to be a rated G type production. They're not on broadcast TV.
They don't have to cater to getting everyone to like it. They know it's just going to be DC fans.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good. I think it's a really good. That's the nicest thing about all these. That's the good thing about these streaming services. They're like, it's not for everybody. It's for the people who want this.
Right.
And the people who want this are going to be super happy. And if they didn't want it, they're not going to watch it anyhow. That's fine.
True.
Really good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you'll have to let me know if there's other content. Like, that's the big thing is, I don't know if there's enough DC Universe stuff that I would care about to, like, I don't know if they could really stock a streaming service with the 4 titles.
Well, I mean, I don't know where the rights are with the big ones, Batman, Superman, if they'd ever go into any of that. But, I mean, certainly the Titan show is showing some of the depth of that universe, bringing in a lot of the different characters. They touched on Doom Patrol in there, Hawk and Dove, a couple things, a lot of the Batman mythos and side characters. So, I mean, I know they're spinning up a Harley Quinn show or some kind of Birds of Prey, something with Harley Quinn. And I think there's a few other ones coming. So there's a lot to choose from. And then there's that very weird esoteric side of the DC stuff. They could do stuff with Sandman. I mean...
Okay, yeah, that's true.
They've got plenty of stuff there. If they did more Vertigo titles like Fables... I mean, there's a lot of depth they could get into. I don't know how much of it is popular enough to spin up a series around and be able to maintain it, but we'll see.
Was Impossible's DC back in the day?
I think that might have been a... Oh, you mean what the movies are based off of?
Was there a movie? I don't know. I thought there was a comic series of the Impossibles, and it was sort of like...
Oh, I'm getting it mixed up with Incredibles. I'm so sorry.
No.
I think Impossibles might have been a Vertigo title.
Yeah, I think it was a Vertigo title, just like... was Doom Patrol Vertigo?
I think Doom Patrol might have started before they had Vertigo.
But I feel like
probably transitioned into it.
Yeah, it was sort of like that like we're gonna take these things, these superhero tropes, and do different things, like apply what would happen if they behaved like real people rather than like canned superhero. And it usually some pretty interesting writing and interesting plot developments out of that. So, hey, who knows?
Yeah.
You'll have to let me know.
Sure.
Yeah, but I am pumped about Swamp Thing.
Yeah, a good Swamp Thing show could be really tremendous.
Yeah,
especially in this day and age with the kind of special effects they can do. Could be really cool.
I liked old Swamp Thing, and that was some bad effects.
That was pretty bad.
Like, I tried to show my fiance that, and she was like, I can't watch this. This is like some of the worst I've ever seen. This is horrible. I was like, yeah, but at the time, hun, at the time.
Yeah.
You don't understand. This was amazing. That bat thing, that stupid-looking bat thing he's fighting.
I don't even remember.
Oh, it was bad.
It's been too long.
It was bad.
You're talking Swamp Thing, or Return of Swamp Thing, or Swamp Thing the USA series?
Not the series. I don't think I ever really got into the series, but I think it was either. I thought it was like there was a bat creature that was made with the same mechanism that the Swamp Thing was made, and he had like this big wrestling match because, like, of course, you have to have like the dudes in suits fight.
Oh yeah,
it's in the contract.
Mini Godzillas.
Yeah, right. It wasn't great. It was not great.
Okay,
but. You know, I'm sure there's people out there who are like, actually, no, that was the second movie. In the first movie, the villain was, you know, the accountant, or I don't know.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody knows.
Of course. I'm still trying to get through season 2 of Legion. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I made it, I think, halfway, and I didn't stop for lack of interest. It was like I stockpiled a bunch of episodes and I watched it when I went on a trip, and then I was caught up, and then I wasn't on the trip anymore and didn't watch the rest. So far so good.
Oh, it's good. Some of them are kind of super huge downers, but very well done.
Yeah.
And it's definitely holding my attention, and it's very different, and I really appreciate that about it. So yeah, I'm sticking with it.
Cool. Yeah, I know the dude from Flight of the Conchords is the antagonist, sort of. Not really. It's like...
Oh, he's in there, but not directly.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's entangled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's an intricate show. It's cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, as far as any movies, have you seen anything that fits the sort of wheelhouse of a goth-industrial spooky person?
I'm not recalling anything right now.
Now, were you a fan of Happy Death Day?
It was all right. It was a little cutesy for me, but it was all right.
Well, Happy Death Day 2U, the sequel, is the same.
Yeah.
Well, it's not the same movie, but it brings some of the same charm. It's not quite as charming, but there is a different device involved. It's not like this is cosmically happening for a reason and she has to figure it out. It's a little different, but it's cute. That's in theaters now, as of late February 2019 in theaters. It's good. It's good enough.
Okay.
What the... Oh my god. I tried watching that new remake of Robin Hood. I picked it up from
I avoided
Redbox.
that one. No.
So I will say that there is a level of like artistic license that they took. Like it's weird because in some frame it's a commentary of the United States involvement in world affairs when there's resources that the United States are interested in, which seems odd, but like so like they did this whole thing that was like these guys went to the Middle East and they're all dressed in like, you know, desert combat gear, and they're fighting the locals, and then there's this speech that the villain gives about how like we have to go up against them because they hate our freedom. It's like stuff that is lifted directly from the original Persian Gulf War thing. So like that was interesting. The whole parallel of like U.S. interventionism and stuff was interesting. But then like it is Robin Hood, so it kind of goes just like gets stuck into a track where they have to go down the Sheriff of Nottingham shit and like work through that. And spoiler, we didn't actually finish the movie. we got like 3/4 in and we were tired and we were like, maybe we'll pick this up later, and then we just didn't.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know. It didn't look that interesting to me.
Not a shocker?
I'm not shocked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that weird twist was something. I was like, I see what they're doing, and I can kind of appreciate that this is not a generic Kevin Costner retelling of the same exact story that everyone knows. But
Right.
And there was like a whole bunch of stuff, like Jamie Foxx's hand got cut off.
Spoiler.
It happened early. Whatever. Like, really, the people who made the movie will do more to spoil it than I'm doing.
Fair enough.
So his hand got cut off, and there was just this scene where he's in shackles, and like...
This is like an Army of Darkness thing.
It doesn't even make sense because he doesn't have a hand. And it's like, shackles don't really work on someone who's missing a hand. It just doesn't... It does not line up. So, like, Yeah, they just tried not to have the camera focus on that too much, but yeah, that was super questionable.
Nice.
Yeah, hey.
Well, this brings to mind the RoboCop remake, because RoboCop is back in the news because Peter Weller is doing commercials for KFC in character.
What?
Yeah, which is very...
As RoboCop?
As Robo-Colonel.
Oh no, you're kidding.
I'm not kidding. Like, it's so weird. They're not totally hideous, because some of them are kind of... Because they're going all in. I mean, they don't just have him... I mean, he has glasses on and like the Colonel's goatee.
God.
And
we live in a crazy-ass world.
It's so bizarre. But some of them have a little bit of charm because they bring back the graphics. He's targeting things. I mean, the writing is kind of screwed up. He says some of Ed 209's lines. You know, you have 15 seconds to comply. Stuff like that.
Does somebody try to go for his, like, chicken bucket and he's like, drop it?
Something. I can't remember. Like, there's a bunch of them, though. Like, it's a full ad campaign.
This is amazing.
It's something.
I have to say I approve. Having never seen them, they have my initial approval.
You might not approve them when you see a couple.
Okay.
But I didn't have the heart to watch them all, but I have... They're not totally terrible. They're just mostly terrible. But it brings to mind the RoboCop remake, which was a totally different movie than the original RoboCop.
It is.
Less fun, more serious, brings a lot of issues to the table. I enjoyed it. And I'm a big fan of the original, but they're just like two totally different things.
They're different.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm going to get into a tub of hot poop for this. But, like, I think there's things where if you were to compare the original RoboCop and the RoboCop remake 2014, I'm going to say.
Not even sure.
So the RoboCop remake did not... I wouldn't consider it a failure because they didn't do the scathing social commentary that the first RoboCop series did in focusing on how the media was. Like, the whole media subtexture of the first RoboCop really was memorable and was super cyberpunk future, like dystopia, where, like, the whole 2000 SUX and the like the ridiculous, like, TV shows that are, like, needlessly over-sexualized and petty and, like, really catering to the most base human, like, touch points. That was absent. They didn't try to do that again. And so it was its own thing.
Yeah.
Whereas
Different themes, different feeling.
Blade Runner 2049 is an utterly forgettable piece of garbage that really does not have any artistic merit. The giant props were hideous. The practical effects when they went into the desert until, like, the giant stripper statues of Las Vegas, they were really poorly made. They were horribly made.
You know, I watched that movie and it just kind of washed over me and left no impression at all.
It's utterly forgettable.
Like, I remember Dave Bautista. That's all I remember about that whole movie.
Exactly. He was awesome. Like, I wanted more of him in the movie. He was like a compelling character. Good thing they got rid of him in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So, like, I think RoboCop was a lot better of the original did this super well, and we don't need to redo it because it did it really well. We'll bring new stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I don't have a lot of hope for Dune.
Oh, yeah.
Because the same dude who did 2049 is going to bring, like, he's going to take all, like, so original Blade Runner had some quite reasonably disagreeable stuff in the treatment of women. Harrison Ford's character, Deckard, was pretty rapey, and there was a pretty darn extra, like, not vague rapey part. And I feel like that was the director of 2049's favorite element. And he's just like, yeah, let's make that horrible part a whole movie. Let's do this.
Yeah.
But I really am not looking forward to what he's going to do to Dune. Villeneuve, I think his name is.
I didn't know it was that gentleman. I just heard about the Dune effort recently. So.
Well, all will be forgiven if they bring Sting back to reprise his role. Like, he's got to be oiled up and like...
Of the two visions of Fade Routha, I think he definitely had the best portrayal.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know who should be doing it these days. It's hard to pick.
Just give it to Sting.
Yeah, I mean,
He's still got it.
Whatever.
Give it to David Bautista. Why not?
Well, he's the Beast Raban, right?
Is he in it?
I thought it was announced that he's playing Raban.
Oh, it's tough. I think Bautista is actually a really charming actor. I think he sells it well, whether he's being serious. Even in Hotel Artemis, which was not... It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either.
I agree.
He was really good.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, his character, solid with it. So, big surprise. He's like this giant dude, former pro wrestler, who is... Was he ever actually he wasn't MMA, was he, at any point?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, but it turns out, hey, he's good.
Yeah. Yeah, very good. So yeah, I wanted to maybe touch on some DJ topics. I don't think we've ever talked very deeply about hardware or really software besides kind of mentioning Traktor and Serato in passing. But like, I know you have your preferences for a controller. You like sort of a simple, reliable, frankly older discontinued model.
So yeah, my preference for DJ stuff is like, it's not a handicap, but I do kind of like these relics as far as my gear goes. I like things that are controllers that are completely separate from the sound card, because you can keep your sound card completely out of the way, and if your controller is being an asshole while you're performing, you can unplug it and you just use the computer interface if need be. For me, it's nice. Plus, the layout of the old Vestax VCI 100, I feel like it really fits very well with the layout of Traktor. Specifically the Traktor 2 series. I haven't tried Traktor 3 yet, but it really does everything that I want it to do. So cradle to grave, I start with, if you're getting things from SoundCloud, it's usually really well prepared. If you're buying it from other sources, you may not have really meticulously groomed source material. So I usually start with a thing called MP3 tag and rename. But anyhow, I start with an MP3 repair program that I scan through and make sure that the structure of the MP3 is correct. And usually, yeah, I work with MP3. I try for 320K for like having pristine sound quality. But it turns out I usually play in places where I am not the weak link for sound quality. So, hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
So I start by scanning my stuff, and then I use Tagger for editing metadata, just to make sure that the artist is all correct, and if I care about genre, that's correct, and album art and all that stuff. And then finally I import it into Traktor. What is your process as far as like pre-preparing?
I just get the tracks and prepare, kind of somewhat plan out the set, and just I don't really edit anything. Most of my stuff I get from iTunes or Bandcamp. So,
well, yeah, actually, that's a pretty good. It highlights a difference in preparation that we have, which is I don't, usually when I go out, I have no idea what it is that I want to play. I very much am reactive to what people are asking to hear, and then I'm like, oh, okay, so if the crowd is asking for this, I know that these things are tangentially related and will be accessible to them. And like I work from that point of view, whereas I've had some really great corny way to say it. I've had some really great journeys with your sets where you lay things out and you take it down a certain course with your planning, and your planning is really good. But because you have it planned, you know the tracks you're going to play, and you know if it has like an annoying like hum that comes up in the beginning because there was something wrong with the track because you've pre-listened and you know exactly. Me, I've picked up like 15 new albums in the past month, and I haven't had a chance to really groom every track. Maybe I've just listened to part of it and said, yes, 3 stars, mark this as a good one. And then I get out there and there's like a giant gap in the file or something weird like that. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I'm still mostly playing from, my library of sort of established classics. And sometimes people request things that make me go and research, things I might have missed. But, for the club night that DJ Destroyed, my friend Haley and I are trying to get going. I am going to branch into playing some newer things that are very cool, very in the same sort of vein that work with my usual style. So that'll be interesting and kind of allow me to branch out a little bit. I think that'll be fun.
Cool.
So, yeah. That night, it was going to be called Catharsis, got pushed back a little bit. The venue we were planning on going with had a little bit of trouble and is now defunct. So looking for a new home.
Okay.
But should happen sometime and should be really cool. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that there's been delays, but
yeah,
it's important, especially when you're starting something, is to not lose heart that with what you want to contribute to the culture. And there was a setback because what you were putting effort in to get going from outside influences got derailed, but you're coming at it for like good reason and good effort and like real earnest effort. So just stick with it, and that goes to anybody who's like of the fives of listeners, like that like if there's something that's missing in the culture, griping about it is legit, it's fine, but better is being positive and trying to bring that thing to the culture and trying to contribute. That's good. You could, or just griping school.
Yeah,
being gloomy and bummed out is valid too.
Well, so let's talk. If someone is trying to get into it and get something going, I mean, on the technical end, if you get some kind of laptop, if you get $100 for a tractor, is Tractor Pro license still $100? It's around $100, right? 50,
yeah,
100?
It's $100, $99. They often have specials where if you purchase a controller for $299, it comes free.
Yeah, let me mention that. Because I have, yours was, what was the brand name? Vestex?
I like the Vestex VCI 100, which I don't recommend people really jump in and pursue. I have a back stock of 3 of them, so I'm covered if anything happens to mine. But if you use that as your jump in, you're kind of like stuck with the museum piece, and that may not be what works for you.
Okay. And that didn't come bundled with any software, right?
Well, back 10 years ago it might have.
Okay. But you're just going to find used ones.
Yeah, you're going to find used ones on eBay, and the good news is if you get one on eBay, they are built like a fucking tank, and they don't quit.
Yeah, that's one of the things you like about them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But alternatively, there are plenty of contemporary offerings. Native Instruments has some really good stuff.
Yeah, that's what I went for a few years ago when I picked something up. So I bought a Native Instruments, I think it's called a Control. I went for the S2 Mark II. I think they stopped making the Mark II. Now there's a Mark III out. I think the price is around $320. But it's a really top-notch controller. It has your audio interface built in, so you don't have to buy anything separate.
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with a full license for Traktor Pro.
Yep.
So it's kind of, I don't think the price is that bad if you can scrape together, $300.
Yeah.
I think it's well worth it. The Native Instruments hardware is really solid. Obviously, the integration with Traktor is perfect. I mean, it's developed by the same company to work perfectly with Traktor. So
plus, it's really well suited for the Traktor 3 because it came out in coincidence with Traktor 3's launch. So I'm not contrite, but I prefer the MK2 to the MK3.
Okay.
I feel like the MK2 is a better... So what is it about the MK2? The MK1 came out. You can tell an MK1 because the pads are opaque. So when you see, if you're shopping for an S2 and the pads are all opaque, that's an MK1. If the pads are translucent and have different colored LEDs that can shine through them, that is an MK2. The MK2 also has effects knobs on the top for controlling effects individually for your two decks.
Yeah.
MK3 gets rid of those effects knobs.
Oh.
Doesn't really add anything compelling. So I think MK3 is more like, how can we bring this more in line with budget, entry-level DJ equipment? And that's where that is. The good news is, with MK3 dropping, prices for MK2s, new in box or gently used, driven into the dirt.
Yeah.
So for $200 or less, maybe like even around $100, you can get an MK2 S2, and you still have to shell out for the software. But I really like having the dedicated effect knobs.
Okay.
It all, like, if you don't use the effects, fuck it. Who cares then?
Right.
But I like having the effect knobs. That's just me.
Yeah, for sure. And to be clear, the S2, which is what we're talking about, just has the two decks for your two main decks. If you want to be able to control decks 3 and 4, the remix decks, I think you have to go with a different model, either an S4, or if you stay with the S2, you can get their smaller controllers to control those remix decks. Is that right?
Yeah, the F1s.
Okay.
I've got two F1s. One of them has a special purpose in the future. But yeah, two F1s that are specifically geared towards controlling remix or... there's like 4 different types of tracks you can... or the way you can set up the decks in Traktor. One is standard deck. One is remix deck. One is like a stem deck where you're loading an MP3 or a .stem file that has several different MP3s encompassed in it, so you can do stuff like drop out the vocal or have your percussion soloed, stuff like that. Leads to fancy live performance, but I don't use those too much.
Yeah.
And then there's like the S8, which is okay. So
I didn't even know there was an S8.
So there is the S4 MK3. The S4 MK3, it gives you 4-deck control, but it also gives you haptic feedback, which means like the platters actually are turning when the thing is playing.
Interesting.
It's cool, but there's like a certain like jerking of oneself off about like it being like a turntable, and I'm like, it doesn't have to resemble a more like archaic, ridiculously difficult control mechanism for me to be into it. It's cute that they move, but to me it's just something else to break. I'm not really into that.
Fair enough.
But it's cool. And the S8 is like their flagship, like super beast that I think has displays built in, so you don't even need to have your laptop.
Whoa.
It just can do stuff.
So we're talking like probably $1,000 or more for that.
Yeah, $12.99 is coming to mind, but I may be just making that up because I have had a couple drinks. Hey, that's the name of the game.
Hey.
But yeah, I think Devil's Advocate has an S8. He's got an addiction to controllers, so he like just keeps buying them. I think he has the S8. I think he likes the S8, but doesn't really. It's big. So
yeah.
They get, as you move from the S2 to the S4 to the S8, they get progressively larger and progressively more expensive. I don't think they did a refresh on the S8 recently, but I have the handicap that I focus on Native Instruments offerings, and I know that there's a lot of, like, Pioneer has good shit. Newmark has some good shit. I just am less familiar.
Yeah, me too. I haven't really been into it.
There is crazy DJ snobbery, not in the goth-industrial community, but in, like, the hierarchy in general, where Pioneer CDJs are, like, the shit. And I've heard people talk about how, like, you want to get CDJs because all of the real professional DJs use them, and you just bring, like, a couple of USB drives and you can move into anyone's rig because everyone's using CDJs, and it gives you all the... And I never really saw the appeal. I saw it as kind of gatekeeping, where it's like, oh, if you don't have this elite hardware, you're not really doing it right, or you shouldn't be taken seriously. If you're DJing on, like, a piece of plastic, then fuck it. That's how you roll. My first thing was, like, a crazy cheap, like, it was practically Hasbro. It was all plastic, and I had to get, like, a custom driver that would make it interface with Tractor. But it was cool. It was kind of ridiculous. There was, like, I don't know. I can't even remember what that thing was called, but it was cool. At the time, I was very sheepish about, like, DJing on this, like, all plastic piece of toy. But it had a lot of cool buttons, and it did what I wanted. It had a crossfader, so fuck it. It was cool.
Nice.
Those were the days.
Yeah, man. Let's talk headphones just real quick.
Yeah, what do you got?
I don't have... This is my problem. I don't have headphones specific for DJing. So I have some studio headphones for tracking and stuff like that. Not real serious monitoring or mixing headphones. Mm-hmm. Just kind of like, tracking. And they have pretty good isolation, pretty good sound. They're not terribly expensive. I haven't tried to use them in a loud club setting. Usually I'm using your equipment because you have, you have the whole setup there, and that's usually the way we go. So I've been looking into a couple things, maybe thinking about getting something more specific. I know you like your Pioneer, what is it, HDJ 2000s?
Yeah, that's what I like. Well, that's what I like, but it's another case where I'm a fucking dinosaur and I collect antiques, because you can't get the HDJ 2000 MK. I don't even know what my MK is, but you can't get this one anymore. This was like it's pretty good isolation and pretty flat EQ. Like, if something, I get irritated when things have, like, an inflated bass EQ.
Yeah. Because,
like, I'm not, like, I want to know what it actually sounds like.
And the one thing you don't need in a club is more bass.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So, okay isolation, or sufficient isolation, and sufficient representation are what I go for. The Pioneer HDJ 2Ks, 2000s have been really good. They have magnesium shells, and they stand up to professional use for, like, half a decade or more.
Yeah.
Actually, they stood up to heavy abuse for more than a half a decade, and that's why when I bought more, I went and, like, paid a premium to get a good condition, like antique or, older, not antique, but, one of the original HDJ 2000s. But there's a lot of options. Sony has been making their MDRs forever, and that's been a DJ standby for a long time.
Yeah, I've had my eye on, they're called GK Ultraphones, which are the guts of one of the Sony models inside an industrial, earmuff hearing protection type shell.
That sounds pretty good.
So they're extremely well isolating with some good sound inside. But the drawback is they're really bulky because it's like you're working in an airport. They're the really huge profile. So I'm not sure if I want to go that way yet. I'm looking at some alternatives perhaps.
Well, what's the price range on GTK?
GK Ultraphone. I think they're in the $200 to $300 range. Okay. Not much more than $300 if I remember correct.
Okay, yeah, I think just for reference, I think that the HDJs are the HDJ 2000s are between $250 and $350. Okay. Depending on how you're shopping, if you're getting an MK3 or if you're getting a crazy Japanese edition, which is the 2000K was the Japanese only edition. I feel like there's things in my life that were meaningful and important that I have just let go so I can remember shit about DJ headphones and about different releases of Tractor.
It's funny which things stick in your mind versus other things, and it's different for everybody. I remember album titles, track names, track numbers, the dates things came out, but it's funny.
Yeah, it's a little bit sad because I'm I know I'm forgetting shit, and if I'm able to rattle off these statistics, I'm forgetting the wrong shit.
Yeah.
So, okay. Shit. Anyhow. I'm gonna just go out on a little. We have no sponsorship. Are you opposed if you were approached by Native Instruments or some other would you accept sponsorship?
Sure.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah,
depending on terms.
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Depending on terms.
Yeah.
So I state this without sponsorship. I have just started. I messed around with a thing called Massdrop. Massdrop is a site where a bunch of people get together to nominate a product that they want to get. Once a product has been nominated, then they will go ahead and reach out to the manufacturer and say, hey, if we can get an order together for 300 of this product, how close to manufacturer production cost can you get us? And so you get a really good deal. And they do have, if you're looking for what would be very expensive headphones on something of a budget, Massdrop is not a bad way to go. They do have a pretty frequent turnover of different in-ear monitors from pretty good reputable sources, but your mileage may vary. I mean, you get stuff like I just got some Macaw, I can't remember the model number, the 600s, and they could be a little bit more comfortable, but everyone's ears are different. But they do have very good sound reproduction, and they do, they have like over the ear headphone monitors too. So that's an option if you're not on an absolute panic for time and you can browse offerings and wait.
Yeah,
might be a way to go.
I mean,
not sponsored.
Two ways to go from that. Would you recommend? It seems like in-ear monitors would be a little inconvenient for DJing, because the problems I've had with them are I found the isolation just wasn't quite good enough for me. So you end up turning them up, and then it kind of defeats the whole purpose. But I don't know if those would be. I think I would prefer a headphone for DJing, something you can remove and getting in-ear monitors in and out to talk to people or to between sets.
That's what really gets it for me is I have some Shure E2Cs, and they are spectacular. Their sound quality is great. They are, of course, a super relic that is back like 20 years out of current. But sound quality is great. Isolation is phenomenal. But if you're up there, people are going to talk to you. And it's just like it gets worse the more you try to ignore the person who's emphatically trying to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because they don't take the hint that you're working.
No.
They don't like, oh, they're actually doing a mix right now and I'm like actively campaigning to fuck it up. They never.
Hey, bro. You know Dimitri?
You gotta play some Dimitri. Oh, that fucking guy. Jeez. So, like, yeah, I mean, the in-ear monitors are just not convenient to take in and out. You have to, like, kind of fit them in to get the appropriate isolation. I love mine, but it would, if I was not, like, at a stadium where I was sure nobody was going to come up and, like, talk to me, then, yeah, it's not going to work out.
So all that said, though, if somebody's trying to get started and they're on a budget, I think probably for $100, maybe a pair of, like I have Sennheiser, I think they're the 280 Pro HD 280s, I think, basically. Okay. I think those would get the job done. They have decent isolation, decent sound. I don't think you have to spend $300 out of the gate. But you do want to take your time a little bit. I bet Sony has some models around $100 that are probably very decent.
Yeah, I vaguely recall some of the MDR models were like $85, and okay. they were pretty passable. I mean, it's funny because I feel like I can't hear very well, but when I'm listening to music on inferior headphones, I feel like I'm like a fucking master at hearing shit. Like I'm like, oh, this sounds like dog shit. I can't even listen to this. These headphones fucking suck. Like I can't do this to myself. But really, so I'd say if you're being strategic about it, you get yourself a controller, probably a controller with integrated sound card. Whether you get, something Pioneer, something Newmark, something, if you end up with Tractor, I don't know Serato as well, but I believe that both have pretty good different hardware support. So pretty much whatever you get is going to let you get started. Your headphones don't have to be great if you're practicing at home.
Yeah.
Once you've gotten, you've made a couple mixes or you've demonstrated enough that you're able to get get a paid spot at a show, then you have coffers, then you have a reason to invest in nicer and nicer stuff that will elevate your performance. I mean, if you did something, let's just say you went crazy and you got this pair of headphones that had video projectors that projected Tractor right into your eye and you don't even need a display screen and you're just like looking like fucking Beats by Jordy up there on the stage.
Beats by Jordy LaForge.
Yeah, that's where you elevate eventually, but you don't start there. You start modest and you start where it makes sense to spend the money, I think.
Yeah, for sure. Do you want to talk about that thing you just mentioned or save that for another time?
I'll tease it. I'll just leave that. That's an actual product.
That exists. Beats by Jordy LaForge. It's not the name, but it's kind of what it is.
It is what it is. And I guess I will say it's a pair of headphones that has dual video projectors in the headband that are meant to shine directly onto your retina.
Yeah, so you can wear it as a traditional headband on your head, or you can pull the headband down over your eyes and it has
like the
a
two
visual
projectors.
Component.
And the whole reason why I got it is for eventually doing a screenless DJ set where everything is just in the heads-up display. if I have it, it's a little weird, and I might end it.
It's a lot weird.
It's a lot weird, and it could be that by the end of the session, I have like a serious headache because I don't know. It's weird. There's video projectors that are projecting onto the back of your eye. So like, yeah, but you know, for the arts. You know, it's for the arts.
We sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll keep everyone, I guess, appraised at how that project's coming along. It does sort of relate to the secondhand F1 that I picked up that I intend to cannibalize into something different. So
it's a slow burn.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll see that I'm doing a stint with what is it, Rapture Vaccine?
What?
You don't know about Rapture Vaccine?
No.
Oh well, more teasing. All right.
All right. So
I thought you were in Rapture Vaccine.
I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah, you're the crossover link between. Yeah. No?
I'm not familiar.
All right, off mic. We'll
Sorry.
talk about this.
Okay.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
So that's about all I got for tonight. Is there anything else you want to leave these kids with?
Oh boy, I don't think they. I think they neither have done anything to deserve more, nor have they been particularly outstanding where they've earned more. So
that's harsh.
hey, you know, they know what they did. They know what they did and did not do. So okay, that's it.
Well, that's all we got for you for right now.
Hey,
The 2 cups are dry.
that's it. Work up a good thirst for next time.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
All right. Good night.
Peace.
Peace.